News political commentator and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair. Tom, it's always been fascinating to follow the polls daily throughout this entire campaign, and they are suggesting the gap is narrowing on the preferred prime minister and overall support. What do you think is resonating right now for the Conservatives to show this?
They've been pushing strongly. They're well-known themes, talking law and order a lot, using the type of thing that helped Mr. Poilievre pull ahead of the Liberals back in the day. But let's not forget that this is a Nanos poll, and Mr. Nanos himself is very clear when he says that the Liberal vote is much more efficient. In other words, better spread out and more efficient in terms of winning seats. Scott, let's recall that in both 2019 and 2021, in those two general elections, the Liberals got fewer votes than the Conservatives, but more seats. And that's the way it's going to line up again. The other thing is, too, with regard to, preferred prime minister, to be 9 points ahead is quite a lot. And what that means is the universe of potential voters, of people who see in Mark Carney the person they'd prefer to be prime minister, helps them continue to draw votes away from both the NDP. We've talked a lot about them having a lot of difficulty in being in single digits, but they're also drawing a lot of votes away from the Bloc Québécois. So much so that Yves-François Blanchet for the past few days has been trying to completely change his messaging on Tout le monde en parle on Sunday. He said, it's obvious that Carney's going to win, but he's now suggesting that he could play the same role with Carney that Jagmeet Singh played with Justin Trudeau. In other words, be there to prop him up. He said, put in lots of blocks so we can make sure that Quebec stuff can still block anything when we want to, but allow us, to work with Carney. It's wishful thinking. I don't think anybody believes him, but it's interesting to see how he's had to change his tune as this thing has evolved and as he continues to bleed off votes towards the Liberals.
Another wild card through the entire campaign, of course, is coming from south of the border. How is Trump factoring into the election at this point? Once again, we saw from comments last night taking aim at our sovereignty, talking 51st state again, and even potentially escalating auto tariffs. So now with just days to go, how could this factor into what we see and the messages we hear on the campaign trail?
Well, there are three big changes that happen that helped dope the Liberal campaign and push them way ahead of the Conservatives, who had been 24 points in front of them. They were the arrival of Trump, the departure of Trudeau, and of course, the selection of Mark Carney as the Liberal leader. Across all of that, the shadow of Trump has been influencing everything. So we're even finding out that indeed, they did discuss, Trump raised the 51st state nonsense. And apparently, Carney would have said, well, we'll agree to disagree on that. And he was pushing the thing forward. Now, the fact that it's coming out now is not unhelpful for the Liberals, because it reminds people that the ogre south of the border remains the ballot question. Of course, the Conservatives would have loved it if yesterday Mr. Trump hadn't mentioned any of this stuff, because they would have been able to continue to push their themes. But I think it's a reminder that the ballot question is Donald Trump, the tariffs, the threat to Canada's sovereignty, and who can best deal with that. And that, of course, plays in favor of Mark Carney.
CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair. Tom, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Scott. All the best.
You as well.